Okay, fellas, this is the update to the spare track mod that we did to the Mod Squad Tiger 1. This is it, the S33. Thanks again to Mike in Kentucky for the decals. She's coming along pretty good. It started out all plastic, the TAG 120010. We replaced the tracks, the shoulder wheels, idlers, turret, drivers, gave it new paint and decals and tools and some stowage, and she's getting there. I'm thinking about next maybe a wash with some Pro Modeler. I started kind of beating up the exhaust a little bit in the back, just a little bit of weathering to make it look tore up. Much more to go, much more to go. So anyway, for some reason I decided I needed another Tiger tank, and this is the one that we did the mod on. This is the IMEX Tigen Full Metal T1 Early in IR, and we did the track mod to this one, but this time instead of making my own out of styrene plastic, back at Labor Day, Mart had a pretty good sale, so I picked up a few items, including this one. This is the metal spare track holder. I've already painted this one to go on the Mod Squad T1. It comes with the holder and the 2 metric machine screws for these tapped holes to hold it in place. It's really easy to do. You just take the old one off. This is the old one. It's held in place by 2 screws. You pull them out. You line it up, mark it, get yourself a little pin vise, drill a couple of holes. It's a little more complicated than that, but you get the general idea. It's pretty much necessary to pull the gearboxes out because they're definitely in the way. That means taking the tracks off and the idlers off and all that stuff, but that's how I did it. I got it all in place. The one big difference is that this section of track that came with it and the section that we've got on the S33 both have 12 links. Okay, because of the distance between the 2 posts on the inside, 12 links are too many and it won't fit, so I had to cut down to 11 links. But that's basically the only difference. It went in really smooth. I think it's probably still a little crooked, but most of my stuff is. I feel like Gene Hackman in Unforgiven. You know, remember what a lousy carpenter he was and didn't have one square angle on his whole house? So anyway, that's the mod update for the spare track. The holder I got from Mart. Like I said, it wasn't very expensive. I'm thinking at the sale price it was probably about $4 a piece. I bought 2 of them. I think they'll also fit the Panzer III. I might end up getting a couple more. I got 5 of these Tiger tanks. So the mod of necessity was on this tank. I think you guys know that these turrets and grab handles and stuff, the metal that they make them out of, it can be kind of crumbly. So I broke one, and this is the one I broke. The handle that lifts up the hatch. So what I did was I got one of these. I've got a bigger one that still holds, so you can see. It's one of those paperclip dealies. I'm sure you guys have all seen them laying around. This is the one that I took one side off of, and that's the wire that I used. I just took that wire out of there and I cut it with a pair of rail nippers from when I used to be into model railroads, and I just bent it and pounded on it with my little hammer and put some needle nose and some vice grips and bent it around until it was about the right shape. And then I drilled the holes where the old handle was with my pin vise, and I used super glue. Now this is the kind of super glue that I get at my local hobby shop. That's why it says Nankin Hardware on it. This is like 3 to 5 second, 5 to 10, and 5 to 15. I think I used the 5 to 15 gap filling, and it worked out pretty good. Holds it in place. It's not coming out. Super glue doesn't have much shear strength, but for something like this, it's a pretty good application. So that was the mod of necessity because I broke something. Now both of these tanks have had the mod for the switches, okay, where I've moved the volume and the on-off for the smoke up under this other hatch. Now, the first time I did that, I showed a little bit about this, but I didn't do a very good job. I'm not as good at making videos as you guys like Eric. He's pretty good. But a little more on that. Now this is 2 pieces of styrene evergreen tubing. It's just styrene tube. And when you put the 2 together, put a little super glue on there and run it up there, then cut it off, make it into a post. You've got a nice thick wall on there. Okay, and it's got a hole in the middle already, so if you run one of your little Phillips screws in there and then back it back out, it'll cut its own threads, and you can super glue that pretty much anywhere on your tank, and that's what holds up the switches on the mod that we did for the volume and the smoke unit on off. And once I get that post on there, I usually take a piece of this, which is 3/16 ID brass tubing. I got a big long piece at my local hobby shop for $4 or $5, I think. It's what I also use on the mod for the mounts on the Jagdpanther. And this fits in it with just enough slop that you can drizzle some super glue down in there all the way around. What I like to do is use one of these applicators, and I get a nice drop of super glue on there and touch it at the edge, and it'll just flow right down in there. And once it hardens, it makes for a nice strong little post to hold up your switches, and you can put those pretty much anywhere you want on the plastic part of the tank with super glue. So that was the part that I left out in the last video that I did of these. Now I've been putting some stowage on this tank too, and I've been using the two-sided tape that came with my Kubelwagen from Tamiya, and it's really good stuff, but I don't have very much. So now I'm asking you guys, what do you do about two-sided tape? You can see I got a little stowage on here. There's an ammo box and some kind of wooden crate, and he's got a bowl or a bucket there with a couple of bottles of wine and a couple of apples, and being wartime and all that, he's got a couple of pistols stuck down in the bucket there. But the bucket and the ammo box and stuff are just held on with the two-sided tape, so I can pull them off. I've got the jerry cans just hooked on with wire that I can just clip right off if I want to. But what are you guys doing for stowage, and what kind of tape are you using? I'd be really, really pleased if somebody would post something about what kind of brand you're using and where you get it and stuff like that. That'd be pretty cool and be good information for me too. So that's it. That's where the Mod Squad T1 is at. I think I pretty much covered everything that I wanted to this time. Didn't say any names I wasn't supposed to. This is the third time I've made this because I messed up the first two. So that's where we're at. You guys got any suggestions, comments, rude comments, propositions from pretty girls, any of that stuff? Just let me know. See you next time.